This is Jim Szymanski, Director of Public Affairs for the Washington Retail Association. Our guest today on the video is Representative Melanie Stambaugh from the legislature's 25th District, which represents Puyallup, its South Hill area near Tacoma, and Lakewood as well. Thank you very much for being with us today. I appreciate it. You're starting with a distinction, in my mind at least, of being, I think, the youngest woman elected to the state legislature in 78 years. And my curiosity about that is not the age as much as how you feel about that. Is that something that makes you feel special, or is that simply something that's coincidental to you?
I think that it is a much smaller of a deal than many people have made it out to be. My great hope for the future is that this becomes common, that we have young men and young women here serving in the legislature, because this body passes policy that impacts a variety of ages and cultural backgrounds, and I think that it's important we have those perspectives represented here in the legislature.
Now, you own a business, among other things, specializing in confidence coaching. Can you tell us a little bit about that business, what it's called, what it does? And
So my business is You Impression, and we build confidence. So we're located downtown Sumner. We do individual as well as group workshops, anywhere from anti-bullying and leadership development in schools to professional development, working with businesses and those who have either just getting out of college seeking employment or have been out of the workforce for 10 or so years. We've worked with from 6 to 65 is our current age range. Just really enjoying getting to know people, allowing them to align their skills to be able to take that next step and feel confident in that move.
Now, why did you pursue politics? I'm curious. I mean, one might suspect that you wanted to be a businesswoman and also a politician, I suppose. But why did you? What about politics attracted you?
Well, I first dabbled in politics, and I guess here in the legislature when I was a page, when I was in junior high, and that was the planting of a seed of someday I want to be here, making the impact that I saw when I was younger, and the opportunity to serve now, in addition to running my business, is something that I don't take lightly, because we have big issues before us as a state: education, transportation, infrastructure, our mental health system, and to be able to be here providing that perspective as someone who is recently graduated from our higher education system, and someone who runs a business and works with those who are trying to get their lives in many ways back on track. I felt that my perspective would be needed here in the legislature.
Now, much has been made in the media about the role you played in helping Republicans narrow the majority of Democrats in the House, and also your age, 24, is that right? Do these facts matter to you as much as they do to others? I think you've kind of answered that, but maybe you might want to address that a little more, because
Yes, well, being here in the legislature, you realize how important it is to be able to be close in numbers, whether having that majority or being right there on the cusp, because that's when you're relevant. And I don't know what it felt like in previous years for the Republican Party to not be as close in numbers here in the House, but I've heard stories that we actually are part of the dialogue, and that, I believe, moves the best policy forward if you have people from both sides of the aisle coming together, working together. So I'm very appreciative for that this session, and looking forward to taking a few more seats in the upcoming sessions as well.
I've read that you've described yourself as, or someone perhaps has described you as a moderate Republican. Do you have a focus on certain kinds of legislation or topics that are interesting to you?
I really focus on education, and I believe that's whether you're conservative or liberal, you're going to come together in understanding that our kids are our future. But I do believe that being a young female Republican makes me different than many others in the party, and I look forward to the opportunity to utilize my business background and to understand that I am fiscally conservative. What does that look like as we want to make advances in our state towards things that benefit our communities? And I think that's a broader question, and I look forward to moving forward with the party in that.
Now, since your experience here is fresh, I'm curious about whether you have any first impressions about this job and how it may match up with what your expectations were.
It is better than I anticipated being here in the legislature. What surprised me most is that this is about building relationships. It's the relationships with those across the aisle, it's those across the rotunda, and that's what moves policy. It's finding people who share similar concerns or similar interests and saying, okay, let's look at this problem, try to find a solution, and then let's move this policy from committee to the floor to now the Senate committees and hopefully off the floor to the governor's desk.
Now, have you ever had any experience, Melanie, in politics before high school or college, or is this an absolutely fresh experience for you?
It is fresh in serving, but I also worked at Washington Policy Center when I was getting my business degree from the University of Washington. So when I was there, I worked in education policy, transportation policy, and healthcare policy. And so those really laid a great foundation for me to take this step.
Now, we hear a lot about the power of incumbency, and yet you defeated a 5-term incumbent. The chair of the Pierce County Democratic Party described herself as flabbergasted by your 10-point win. And I'm curious about why you think you won. What did it take to actually pull that off?
There are many factors that led to the win. One, I have to say, I had a strong team of support. And for any candidate, you can't win unless you have those people around you that are rallying to your support and going door to door with you and meeting people with you and introducing them to yourself to other people. But additionally, I wanted to meet as many people as I could. And that's a genuine desire of my heart, regardless if it's in politics or just my day-to-day way of looking at life. But I believe in many ways that people felt they didn't have confidence in the political structure, and my message was, I want to be transparent. I want to develop confidence, not only in my business, but now here in the legislature, and let's do that. And I think people have really responded to that.
Okay. Now, is there a particular bill you're sponsoring that you'd like to mention or that you're particularly proud of?
So I had 2 bills that came off the House floor, but the one that I will highlight is House Bill 1554, and that was brought to me by the city of Fife, which is in the 25th District, and it protects children's privacy in public records requests. Currently, under law, if a public records request for a daycare or after-school program is requested, the child's name was redacted, but the parents' names weren't. And there are often phone calls or emails that a parent has in regards to an incident. And so this just says that if the parent or anyone who lives in their household is also included in that public records request, their names are also redacted.
Okay. What do you hope to accomplish this term in really broad terms? What do you hope to be able to finish when you're, not specifically so much, but just from a broader perspective?
Build relationships, because that is what moves policy. But additionally, it's also learn the process. There are so many nuances that a textbook or that going through kind of mock legislature experiences can never teach you until you're actually there moving your bill through the process.
Have you thought about any further at all about political aspirations? I realize it's you're kind of new here, but yeah, at the same time, people have goals, they have visions.
Right.
Would you care to share anything like that if you've had some thoughts like that?
I get asked this all the time, and I really believe that opportunities will present themselves, and so I'm doing everything I can to just be ready for whatever opportunity comes. And I want to be anywhere, whether it's in my business or here in the legislature, when I'm effective. And so as long as I'm effective, I will continue moving forward. And if another opportunity where I can be more effective presents itself, then that's the avenue I'll take.
Well, thank you very much, Representative. Yes. We appreciate you being with us today. Please look at the Retail Association website, retailassociation.org, to see not only this video, but also others and podcasts as well. Thank you very much for watching.